Okay. Well, my name is Martha Reece, Chalaki Reece, and my maiden name is Chalaki. And my parents was Reverend John Chalaki and Fanny Berryhill Chalaki. So I was born in Wagner County, January 3rd, 1931, so you can see how old I am. And we live close to Springtown Church. Springtown Church is out north of here, and we lived in the country for quite a while. And whenever I was born, I don't know how it came about, but because we didn't have telephones or cars at that time when I was a little girl, when I was born. So Dr. Riddle was the doctor that we had, Mom and them used to use, so here in Koweta. So Dr. Riddle came out to deliver me. I don't know how that, I guess my dad called him, got in touch with him some way. Anyway, when I was born, my grandma Nancy, she was a step-grandma, but we all called her Grandma Nancy, and she was a midwife. So when I was born, she didn't talk, she was taught Creek all the time, so she didn't know English very well. So the doctor said, "What's the name?" And he said, Halhoka. And so he wrote that on the birth certificate, Halhoka. So years later, needed some information for Creek Nation, so I needed my birth certificate. So I wrote down and got my birth certificate. But I was living in Kansas because I lived up there for me and my husband raised our family out in western Kansas, and so I had to write in. And when I got my birth certificate, my name was Martha Jane wasn't on there, and I called my mom, and Mom said, "Spell it." I said, "Your name and Dad's name's on there, and my birthday, but my name isn't on there." So she says, "Spell it to me," and I spelled it to her, Halhoka, that was on there, and she said, "That's your Indian name." And so I had to get it amended. So I had to write back down to them and tell them and get it amended. So it was in 1968 when that happened. So all that time I wasn't Martha Jane. So I was Halhoka. But I wished I had kept that name, but I didn't. So
tell them what it means.
Oh, Halhoka means crybaby. So I must have been crying when I was born. So my father and stepmother, Grandma Nancy, she was Chisholm before she married Grandpa Jimsy. And my step-grandma and dad started at Springtown Church. They had been closed for a while, and so they started it up, and I think that was back in 1930 when they started to open the doors again to Springtown Church, because my great-grandfather was the one that had opened the church, and they closed it, had to close it. And the church ground, though, was given to the church through my dad's cousin, Sippy Asbury. And so and it's a real pretty place down there, which y'all can see that it's in a valley-like, and it's a pretty setting down there. But we still have our church there. It has been rebuilt because the old one had to be replaced. So. And Grandma Nancy, I can just see her when I was a little girl. We'd go out and to her house, and she'd be out there in the back porch grinding corn with that what they call that?
Kejo.
Kejo? Yeah, should be doing that back there. Grandma, listen, I want to get this part in here. Grandma Nancy Chisholm, who we call Grandma Nancy, her my father's stepmother. She had became his mother when my dad was an infant, so she was just like a grandma to us too. But anyway, she was the one that back before she was became a Christian, she rode with Belle Starr, so she was kind of an outlaw, I guess you'd say. So, and my cousin, according to Leona Sullivan, my grandma Nancy's father was adopted son by Jesse Chisholm, who founded the Chisholm Trail that was used for many years to drive cattle to the railheads in Kansas. So I thought that was pretty interesting too. So, and Grandpa Jimsy Chalaki, my father's grandfather, was a farmer and light horse police of this area in the Creek Nation. And I didn't know my grandpa. I wished I had because he was gone whenever I was born, so I didn't know him. So him and his first wife have 4 children, and his wife was, my grandma's name was Lavina, and so she died too when I didn't know her either. So, and Grandma Nancy became married to my grandpa. I don't know how they met or anything, but maybe he arrested her since he was just right around Belle Starr, got in trouble or something. So anyway, I don't know how they met, but the house where they live, it still stands out there in the country, and it's the land has been bought by some other people, but the house is still there. They haven't torn it down, and there's a cemetery right there by the house, several from here to that road out there. And my grandpa's buried there. My step grandma. There's about 8 graves there yet. And when I was an infant, I'm not sure I have a tape, but I didn't have time to look at my cassette tape. My mother telling me that I had diphtheria when I was, I thought she said a few months old, but then someone said 3 years old, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I was pretty sick, so they took me, I guess, to Dr. Riddle, and he checked me out, and he said, he can't do anything for me. She's not going to make it. So they brought me back home, and there was a colored guy that worked for Grandpa Jimsy and Grandma Nancy out on the farm, and happened to be down there, I guess, on a horse, and my dad told him to go get Grandma Nancy, or Mama did, told him go get Grandma Nancy, my baby's dying. So he took off on this horse to fly, and she lived about 4 miles from where we live or something like that. Anyway, here they come in a wagon. Boy, the horses were just a-running. They come up and got to the house, and she got out and she looked at me, and Mama said, she said she's got diphtheria. He had gone back to get her, so she had got her medicine, which was red root, to doctor me. And after she gave me about a teaspoon of that red root, and in a few minutes, Mama said I coughed up black stuff, and said pretty soon I got to feeling better, because I guess I was really puffy and everything. I don't know that much about diphtheria, but I went through it. And so she said, Mama had been up with me for 3 or 4 nights and days, and she was so wore out. So Grandma Nancy said, now you go lay down and rest. I'm going to take care of her. So I made it through that. And Mama was visiting with her doctor here years back in the 90s, I think it was. And Dr. Carr asked her, said, she was telling him about diphtheria, how I made it through. He said, well, how did she put medication did she use? And she wouldn't tell him that it was red root. I guess he didn't know anything about red root. So anyway, so I guess that red root, she made tea out of it, and that's why I had to drink it that way to get out. So let's see. Well, I guess, like I said, I guess I am standing here to be a 93 years old, a testament to that disease. Excuse me, I gotta check my notes here. I want to be sure. My mother told me, oh, that's the one I just got through telling you all about, the doctor. Something interesting. My dad did not pronounce the name of Koweta. He used to say, Koweta. And he never said Koweta, it's Koweta. And found out then in Alabama, or Georgia, that there's a town called Koweta, and they call it Koweta. So, and then Tulsa, he used to say Tulsi, not Tulsa. So that's the way that I guess it used to be, Tulsi. So, and then his cousin was James Apalpa, and that town is named after James Apalpa. So, you know, whenever at our church, we always had had water, because we didn't have running water out in the country anyway, need our homes too. So we used to have to burn wood to keep the fire going and keep warm, cook, whatever. These were hard times, but it was good times too, even though it was hard times. I lived through the Depression, and that was something else too. I was just a little girl, but I remember Mom and Dad had to have stamps to buy coffee and sugar, about 3 items. They had to have stamps for that during the Depression. And my dad was being a pastor. He had it was a circuit at one point, I remember, and he had Springtown, Davis Chapel, and Broken Arrow. And there was times, because he didn't have a car, we didn't have a car, there was times when he would take off on Friday evenings and walk to the church and sleep at the church or at the camp houses, whatever they had, and then he'd come back Sunday evening, until we finally had a car for him to drive to his appointments. And he also preached at Hagee Chapel over there at Broken Arrow, by Broken Arrow. And I think he was a pastor at one time too. At Hagee Chapel. 4 years?
There was four churches.
I was thinking it was three churches in a circuit, but I guess it was 4 with Hagee Chapel. I'm sorry. I'm getting old, can't remember. So Daddy, when he took off for his appointments, Mama had to stay home and take care of us and the chickens and whatever we had, and while Daddy was on his mission. So, anyway, sejare pa naga stoza chagesi dos was homeworks mahok no mada kete dos. So when I went to progressive school, I was in, they did have kindergarten, preschool, and all this, so it was first grade. So I went to the country school, progressive, and they wouldn't let us talk our language. So I just more or less was, Mama said I talked my language all up until then, with them, and I never talked English. So I don't know how they, I guess the teachers had to put up with us and teach us English too while teaching us the classes. And so I went to progressive, had to walk to school, had to walk about 1.5 miles or 2 miles to school. So there were days when it was so cold we had to miss school. I had to miss out some schooling there, and Dad said, when I became a 6th grader, he said that we'll just send you, if we can get you in at Eufaula. So I went to Eufaula boarding school when I was in 6th, 7th, and 8th. And in my 7th and 8th grade on the campus, we had to go down to the public school. But in 6th grade, I was on the campus. So when I graduated from there, I went to Shalako. And I graduated from Shalako in 1951. So up there, you heard some of the Creeks up there say things in Creek, but they didn't talk their language up there like, fluently like we used to when I was a little girl. But anyway, after graduation, then the superintendent of schools, he asked if I would stay and do some secretarial training up there. So I stayed there that summer until my grandma Nancy passed away. Then I had to come back, and I didn't go back. So, I hope I haven't forgotten everything. Like Annie was talking about the standing in the doorway. I remember Mama saying too, she said, if a pregnant woman go into a zoo, she better not be looking at these animals too long, because something will happen, And so I remember Aunt Minnie, that was my uncle's wife, her son had they had a baby that was born, and it was born with a spot on its back, hairy spot. And my grandma thought maybe that was because that been at a zoo looking at an animal or something. But it was a spot about like that. It was hairy. But I always thought about that. I thought maybe that's not true, but it could be. So, and I wanted to tell this one too. It's Mama told me this one, and I always thought that was so funny. She said there was these 2 Indian ladies talking Creek. They didn't talk English. They was talking in Creek, and they were in a department store in the material department where the notions were, and they were looking at scissors and just piddling around looking at scissors. The clerk came by and said, "Oh, scissors," and she just went on. And one of the Indian ladies told the other one, "Scissors, Magiga, Shisahania." So they picked up the scissors and walked out. Scissors means take. And then she thought the clerk, when she said scissors, said scissors. So they walked out the door with the scissors. So I thought that was funny. And then at Eufaula too, Mama said, telling me this, that, they couldn't talk Creek up there either when she was a little girl. So, and Alice was up there, and she was talking to her friend. She was on third floor. She talked to her friend on the second floor through a pipe where they had taken pipe out, and there was a hole. So she was muggling on that hole talking to her friend, and said someone hit her on the behind. She said, "Quit!" I said, hit her again. She said, "Quit!" She turned around. It was a matron, because she was talking in Creek to that lady, and she got in trouble. So and Alice felt bad about that. She would tell me things that they used to do when they couldn't talk English and things like that. Wanted to speak their language. So I guess that is all. Any more questions?
You want to talk about these?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I have a picture or two here. This one here. My brother Daniel Chalaki worked at Hale Hostel, and the company made a calendar and had this picture of my great-grandpa, Tessanuggy. And the boss asked him, he said, "Do you know who that could be?" And my brother said, "Well, I'm going to call my mom and tell her." So he called her, and she said, "What's the name?" He said, "Tessanuggy Imathala, Jim Boy." And she said, "That's my grandpa." So that's how this came about, because he was working at the Hale Hostel at the time. So, so they took a picture of him and put it in the paper like that. And then I have this picture here of him. And I can read that one off to y'all too, if y'all don't get bored, about Grandpa Tessanuggy. And this is Tessanuggy Imathala, Jim Boy, a Creek chief. This was the notable Creek chief, better known as Jim Boy, printed by King in 1826, was born about 1793 in the Creek village of the Tupelo River in Alabama. As a youth, Jim Boy and others followed the older warriors into battle during the Creek's War. Thus, he witnessed the Fort Mames massacre and the Battle of Koweta. Later, he had joined McIntosh and fought in the Florida under General Andrew Jackson. At the request of General Thomas Jessup in 1836, he raised a party of more than 700 warriors to fight the Seminoles in Florida. This was at the time of the Creek removal in the Indian Territory. Jim Boy related afterwards that the government had assured him his family and property would be cared for during his absence. But his property was destroyed, and his 9 children were among the 336 Creeks who perished in the sinking of the steamboat Mammoth during the removal. So I think that is quite a history there about how they were treated, you know. So I just wanted to share that with y'all too. So I guess that is it. That's all I have to say. Anybody have questions? I guess y'all know, like I said now, how old I am.
You covered a lot of my questions. I think the only thing on here really that I didn't get to hear about was how many brothers and sisters you have.
Oh, I had, there was 7 of us, 1 brother and 6 girls. And this is my sister here, Nora Helen Ripogle. And I have a sister that's dead, gone on, and a brother. He's gone on too. So There's 5 of us left.
What number of sibling are you?
I'm the oldest. And Dolly is about third to the youngest. Yeah. So she's from Broken Arrow. And Joanne now, the one that's gone on, she worked in D.C. for years, and then in Albuquerque for a little while before she died with cancer. And my brother died about 3 years ago. I've already lost track. About 3 years ago, he passed away. So, and I guess anybody have any questions? I guess I'm finished for the day.
You think we?
Do you remember, like as a young girl, like games that you would play, or how did you entertain yourself? Or who did you play with when you were little?
The games you played when you were little.
What games to play?
Yeah, how did you entertain yourself when you were little?
Okay, even my grandma used to play with us at church. We'd play Flying Dutchman or Drop the Handkerchief or Annie Over and just things like that, hopscotch. So, but my grandma used to play with us at church house when we had out on the campus there, and she always wore a long dress, and she'd just go flying around there. She was fast to be a little older. But she always wanted to play with us. So and we didn't have too many dolls, you know, because my folks couldn't afford dolls for us, you know. So, me and my husband, I was out in western Kansas for 33 years. That's why I didn't have nobody to talk to in Creek, you know. So I really miss it. I know some Creek songs, so I'd sing my Creek songs and talk to myself, trying to remember the words and everything. But it was so sad that they made us lose our language, and now they want us to learn it. So, anyway, and my children, me and my husband had 5. We raised them out in western Kansas, and so I was there 33 years without, you know, my mom and dad had come up and they'd talk to me in Creek, but so anyway, so I guess that's all I can think of right now.
What up?